Hi, Bookworms. Welcome to The Best Book Ever, the podcast where we talk about your favorite books. I'm your host, Julie Strauss, and today I have an extra special treat for you. The holiday season is upon us, and sometimes it can be tough to buy gifts for the young people in our lives. My go-to gift is always a book, but I frequently hear questions along the lines of, what do kids like to read? Or, which vampire are the preteen girls into these days? Or, do teenage boys even read books? So I decided to go straight to the source. Today you'll hear from a dozen of my favorite kids and young adults, ages 5 to 23, tell me about their all-time favorite books. Hopefully this episode will give you some tips about what to buy or check out for the young people in your life. Or maybe it will pique your own interest to pick up some middle grade or young adult books that you might want to read yourself. One quick warning, this episode goes in age order, and the content of the books gets more mature as we go along. The last one in particular is a pretty intense topic, so please be aware of that if you're listening to this episode with younger or sensitive listeners. And in case you're wondering, yes, this episode was an absolute blast to record. You all already know that youths are my favorite people in the world, and talking to them about books is just about as happy as I can possibly get. I know you're going to love this episode. Let's get to it.
My name is Henry, and I'm 6.
Hi, Henry. Thank you for joining me today. Can you tell me what your favorite book is?
Marvel Spiderman.
The Amazing Spider-Man World of Reading. That looks rad. What's it about?
It's about Spider-Man.
Who is that dude?
Peter Parker.
Okay. And so what happens to Peter Parker?
He gets bit by a spider.
Oh, gross. He gets bit by a spider?
He gets superpowers.
What kind of superpowers?
Sticking on walls, shooting webs, I don't know. Spider senses.
Spider senses. Okay. So then what does he do with all those powers?
Saves people.
Saves people. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 superheroes. You tell me who's better. Spider-Man or Wonder Woman?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man or Batman?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man or Superman?
Superman because he's the strongest.
That's true, but Spider-Man could wrap him all up in a web.
I don't know about he can just use his laser eyes and just cut the web.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, so Superman's better than Spider-Man? What about Spider-Man versus Aquaman?
Spider-Man.
What about Spider-Man versus SpongeBob SquarePants?
Spider-Man.
Can you read that book by yourself?
Some of the pages, but not all of it.
Uh-huh. Do your parents or your brother and sister read to you?
My mom does the most.
Your mom does. Is Spider-Man her favorite book too?
She really reads her own books.
Her own books. What kind of books does she read?
I don't know what they're called.
All right, dude. Well, I miss your face and I miss hanging out with you.
Hi, I'm Charley, and I'm 10 years old.
Hi, Charley. Thank you for joining me today. Charley, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is Thea, Stilton, The Land of Flowers.
Tell me about this book.
So it's about the Thea sisters who get a call from Will Mystery to go help them find the 7 roses. So they take a helicopter to get to Will, and then they ride these lily frogs. They're basically they're pink frogs with like purple, like a rim of a flower on their neck.
Okay.
It's like a portal. They ride it into the portal to get to the fantasy land where the 7 roses are found.
And why do they have to find the roses?
Because they, an evil mouse basically took the roses and they're trying to find where he lived.
Can you show me the cover again? It looks like are those the frogs? No.
Well, these are the Thea sisters.
Those are the Thea sisters. And what are they? Are they fairies?
No, they're mice.
They're adorable. So this is a chapter book.
Yes.
And is this one you like to read by yourself, or do you like to have someone read it to you?
No, I like to read it by myself. This is actually my brother's book, but I read it a lot. He likes Thea Stilton and Geronimo Stilton.
Oh, I know Geronimo Stilton. My son used to read those books.
Yeah.
Oh, the Geronimos. Do you like the Geronimo Stilton adventures?
Yeah. I
Those.
like some of them.
So is there more than one Thea Stilton book? Is it a series?
Yeah, it's a series. So she also has Thea Stilton, the Cloud Castle, Thea Stilton, the Treasure Seekers, and I think there's a Treasure Seekers too.
Okay.
My brother bought just a new Thea Stilton book, I think, but I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, okay. So he likes them as much as you. So a really good gift for kids would be to buy them like the series. That would be a really nice gift to buy the box set or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Charley, thank you so much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
I'm Kate, and I'm 10 years old.
Kate, tell me about your favorite book.
My favorite book is Echo Mountain, and it's by Lauren Wolk.
Oh, this is a big old book.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you find this book?
I think my mom just found it because I had read Where the Red Fern Grows, and I really liked that one. She said this was kind of the same. So then she found it, and then she let me read it.
And what's it about?
It's about a little girl, and it's during, I think, World War II, so she had to go, something happened to, like, the town, and now she has to go up to the mountains.
Okay.
And her whole family's just going to the mountains to live there. And she didn't know there were already other people on the other side of the mountain. And she has a whole thing of dogs.
Dogs of her own, or she finds them?
Oh, yeah. She has one dog, and then I think the dog has a few puppies.
So is the book about the dogs and taking care of the dogs, or is the book about escaping?
Oh, no. The book is about the little girl. Her name is Ellie. She's the main character, and she finds another dog, and then that dog leads her up the mountain, and she finds a little cottage with an old lady in there, and she thinks she's dead, but she isn't. She's just sleeping, but and then she helps her out, and her dad is in a coma, and then they bring the old lady down the mountain, and then I think the dog is barking because he wants the mom of the main character to play one of her instruments, and then she does, and then the dad wakes up and they help out the old lady, and then I think that's the end.
It sounds sort of like a bittersweet book, like maybe it's kind of sad and scary, but then it ends on a happy note.
Yeah.
Tell me why you like this book so much.
I really like it because I want to kind of move to the mountains and have like a farm, and she has a ton of dogs, and I love dogs. And I like it because you don't really know what's going to happen next.
So have you read other books by this author?
No, this is my first one.
Where the Red Fern Grows is also a really sad book too, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like these sad animal books.
I know. I don't know why. I didn't know that it was like that until I finished it, and then I was like, okay. And I threw the book
you threw the book away? Is that what you just said?
across the room.
That's a fair response. I've thrown many books across the room. You know what Aiden always used to say is whenever there was a book with an animal on the cover and one of those gold seals that it had won an award, he would never read those books because he goes, Mom, if there's an animal and a gold seal, that means the animal's going to die.
Yep. Every time.
Thank you, Katie.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
Hi, my name is Jaden, and I'm 11 years old.
Hi, Jaden. Tell me about your favorite book.
Well, my favorite book is Arusha and the Song of Death. It's the second book in a going to be quartet of the Arusha series. The first one is Arusha and the End of Time, which is basically about a girl. It's like a Rick Riordan book, basically, but not written by Rick Riordan. So like it has all of the stuff like, oh yeah, you're the child of like a god, you're trying to stop a giant demon, and you've got some like demigod powers. It's basically that, and like I feel like all Rick Riordan's main characters are like the exact same. So Aru is also like one of them, like a what's it called, like a sarcastic snide, like joke making like character, but who also has like a heart of gold, basically.
Isn't that series set in, it's Indian mythology, isn't it?
Yeah, Hindu.
Thank you. How did you find these books?
There were like 3 books, and I picked Arusha because the cover looked cool. And yeah, we like after I read it, we got the audiobook. And then I just listened to it every like night before I go to sleep.
You've re-listened to it or reread it more than once?
Yes. I've re-listened to it every night.
Like just over and over? Like you just, when you finish it, you start over again?
Yeah, basically. And like,
no kidding.
And like I know like what the chapters hold, and like I sometimes just like when I just intuitively I just memorize the lines randomly, and then like when the line is coming up I just say it, and everyone's like, what? And I was just like, sorry, just like continue. But yeah, and like I know what the chapters are, and if there are chapters I don't like, I just skip those. Like if there's like some like conflict that I don't want to go through as I'm sleeping, I just skip past that chapter because I know what happens anyway. Like it doesn't do anything for the plot to me.
So there are 2 books of the 4 out, is that correct?
3.
There are already 3 out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the 4th is going to be made in spring of 2021. Long while.
Do you listen to all 3 of them over and over, or just that second one on repeat?
All 3 of them mostly, depending on how I'm feeling. Not much of the 3rd book because it's kind of slightly stressful, but like not really.
Stressful in what sense?
Like normally they have like, oh, you have 9 days in like the first book to defeat your thing. You have 10 days to defeat the thing. And this one they have 5, and then they also have the entire like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but they have 5 days to complete their quest. I like the fighting part of a lot of stuff, and the second book has like a lot of battles in it, and it's super cool. They're like coordinated because they're like coordinated with their super abilities, fighting like one giant monster. And it's really cool.
And did you know anything about Hindu mythology before you read this book?
Nope. Like
no.
I just knew that a bunch of them had like multiple arms or something. I don't know. I just like saw random like pictures of like stuff, like other than that, no.
Very cool. So you accidentally learn stuff too.
Yeah.
I like those books where you learn accidentally.
My name is Jack, and I'm 12 years old.
Hi, Jack. Tell me about your favorite book.
My favorite book is Warrior Cat's Sunset. The series is The New Prophecy.
Warrior Cat Sunset. Is this the first book in the series?
No, this is not. This is in the second series of Warrior Cats.
So this is your favorite. Yeah, I assume you've read the whole series and all of the side series and all that?
Oh, no, there are like 5 series so far.
Okay, so tell me what this Warrior Cat book is about.
This Warrior Cat book is about 2 cats mainly. One who loves the other, Brambleclaw. Her name is Squirrelflight. She has a love for Brambleclaw, but she also doesn't have enough trust in him. So she starts trying to like someone else, and his name is Ashfur, but Bramblestar starts getting mad and then starts visiting his dad, and Brambleclaw is not treated the same as any other cat because his dad is Tiger Star, which was the most evil cat the forest has ever known, who now lives in a cat underworld that goes by the name the Dark Forest. And he starts training with his dad along with his stepbrother, Hawkfrost. Hawkfrost is more ambitious. He would do anything to take over his clan, like Tiger Star did. Tiger Star tried to kill his clan leader, and also to become deputy, Tiger Star killed the deputy. Squirrelflight didn't trust Brambleclaw enough because of his dad.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the book, it's a very good ending. Even though Brambleclaw kills his own stepbrother, it's for the sake of all clans.
Well, gosh, when you first started describing it, I thought it sounded like a romantical kissing type book, but then it really turned into an action adventure type book. There's really a lot going on in here.
Yeah, there's some romance, a lot of action, a lot of adventure, very, very big cliffhangers.
In every one of the books in the series, there's a cliffhanger?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Do you like cliffhangers?
Yes, I really do.
So if you're new to this series, do you have to start all the way at the beginning from book 1?
Yes, you have to start from Into the Wild or you will not get anything else.
Okay, so if someone is buying a book for their favorite 12-year-old, they have to start with Into the Wild. But your favorite in the series is this one that is called Sunset.
Yeah, but if you just start there, you're not going to get it at all.
Okay, gotcha. Well, Jack, thank you so much for talking to me about your favorite book.
Thank you for asking me to join this. I really love this book.
Hi, my name is Miles, and I am 12 years old.
Hi, Miles. Thank you for joining me today. Can you tell me what your favorite book is?
My favorite book is called The Island of Dragons. It's about people that are mice that like talk and what a real person would do.
Okay.
And he goes to this and goes to a world called the Kingdom of Fantasy. But he can only go there by sleeping, and he doesn't have any control of it because he's normally called there by someone from there. Oftenly, it's Queen Blossom.
Okay.
Because he's a knight there, even though he's afraid of everything.
In his real life, he's afraid of everything.
No, he's even afraid of everything in the Kingdom of Fantasy too.
Oh.
But everyone calls him a fearless knight.
Oh, so what does he do when he comes across dragons? If he's afraid?
Well, before this book, because there's a whole series. This is like the 12th book,
Okay.
but in reality of the series, it's really the 14th book. He has met friendly dragons along the way, but he's never been to the Island of Dragons before.
Okay.
But he has to, because he has to get 5 unique dragons that so then they can save 5 princesses.
So how does he act brave if everyone there thinks he's brave? How does he do it if he's really scared?
Well, really, every time someone like sees him, then he does like something
heroic, and they think that that's fearless. But sometimes he doesn't even mean to do that. So
So it just seems really heroic, but they just don't know that inside he's as scared as anybody else.
Well, his closest friends do know that, but they still call him fearless because he can get actual fearless when it comes to like his family or his friends are in danger.
Oh, right. I see. So, Miles, do you have this entire series?
Not the entire series. I just read all of them.
And do you reread it a lot, or did you just read it once and you know it's your favorite book?
Well, it was actually really, really, really hard to pick my favorite book since I have a lot more books, like more than 80 books.
If I said to you, tell me 5 more, what would you say?
I would say my 5 other ones would be The Land of Flowers, The Dragon's Code.
Is that also Geronimo Stilton?
It's Geronimo Stilton and Thea Stilton.
Oh, okay.
The Wizard's Wand. That's one of these series.
Okay.
The Kingdom of Fantasy series. Of the first book of this, the Kingdom of Fantasy. The series.
So all the other books you chose are also Geronimo Stilton or Thea Stilton books.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to, when you said you have so many books to choose from, I thought you were going to choose something from outside the series, but all of your favorites are in this series.
Yes.
If someone were brand new to the Geronimo Stilton books and had never read any of them, do they have to start at the very beginning with book number 1, or could they pick up this one that's your favorite, and would they understand what was going on, or do they really have to start from the beginning?
They have to start at the beginning. I mean, you could try to pick it up, but you wouldn't understand like the first parts, because the after the first part is just like the adventure. So like and like the kingdom tells him what they have to do, so they would understand that part, but it wouldn't understand the first part, like what are you doing here, and is this a dream, or is this an actual fantasy world? Which in the first book he thought it was a dream, but later he knew that it was just a way to transport there.
Okay.
Time stops there. Time stops in the Kingdom of Fantasy. So.
Okay. Do you ever read any other books besides Geronimo Stilton books or Thea Stilton?
Yes, I sometimes read Dogman books.
I've never heard of those.
It's like starts off at a police station, and there was a police dog and a policeman. But then when it got into this accident, and then it's like a comic. It's like a comic, but like it looks like it's made by kids. It looks like it's like messy and everything, but like it's funny because once they have to suit the dog's head to the man's body, and so the dog has a mind of a dog.
Oh my gosh!
It's the best police officer.
Is it funny or is it creepy?
Funny.
Funny. Okay, it does sound pretty funny. Is it a whole series or is it just one book?
Yes, it's a whole series.
Okay, the Dogman series. Well, Miles, this has been very fun talking to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Joey. I am 13 years old.
Hi, Joey. Tell me about your favorite book.
It's called Scythe. It's by Neil Shusterman, and it's actually a trilogy. The first one in the trilogy is probably my favorite, but I love all of them. They're all amazing.
Tell me what Scythe is about.
It's set in the very distant future. Actually, there's never a specific date given, because it's kind of a whole thing how in the future nobody really keeps track of time. So in this future, technology has advanced to the point where basically the idea is it's a perfect world. Like there's no death, there's no sickness, and just like everything is perfect basically. But the problem is there needs to be death so that we don't have overpopulation. So humanity needed a new solution to that now that death had been conquered. So a organization of people was formed called the Scythedom, and all of the members of that organization are called scythes, and basically they're trained for a year, and then they're ordained as a scythe, and their job is to This is really dark. They literally just kill people. They call it gleaning, technically.
Is that the plot of just the first book or the whole 3-book series?
Well, that's kind of the basis of like the world that they're living in. The plot of the first book is the two main characters. They're high schoolers named Rowan and Citra. They're chosen as scythe apprentices, so they're going to be trained for a year, and at the end of the year, one of them will be ordained as a scythe. So it's the first book is essentially like their moral dilemma of like, do they want to be the scythe, and like what makes a good scythe?
Do you get a choice if you're chosen to be a scythe apprentice? Do you get to choose if you want to do it?
Yes, actually, you do get to choose. And they both confronted their parents, and like it's kind of a thing with Rowan how his parents don't really care about him. So that's the whole thing. We don't need to get into that, but he kind of just went ahead and did it. And Citra's parents were fully in support of her no matter what she decided, and she decided to take the apprenticeship because basically the whole thing is, if you want to be a scythe, then that means you shouldn't be, because if you enjoy the act of killing, that makes you a bad scythe. So, Scythe Faraday, the man that chose the two of them as his apprentices, he chose them because he thought they would make good scythes.
Yeah, you're right. This is very dark and sounds very gloomy and sad and scary.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is kind of scary, but like, shoot, how do I answer that? I mean, yeah, it's for sure a dark plot, but like, the entire, goal of the main character is to make a better world and like to improve the scythedom, because, can't really spoil too much of this, but basically there's a lot of corrupt scythes that call themselves the New Order, and they glean in mass and they enjoy doing it, and like, you should not enjoy gleaning. If you enjoy gleaning, you should not be a scythe.
Every time I ask you about this book, you tell me about the moral questions in it. Is it a book that is meant to teach you something, or is it a book that just leaves you with questions and asks you to think things through?
I mean, sort of both. It can for sure teach you things about, like, the morality of things. Like, because, the whole thing is the main characters are killing people, but it's for a good cause. So that is definitely a good moral question. Like, is that okay? So it for sure answers some of the questions, but it also leaves a lot of to be determined things.
So what did you learn from this book?
That Neil Shusterman is an amazing writer.
Yeah, you also really like his Dry series. Is that a series?
No, it's just the one book, but yeah, it's amazing.
You always read series, don't you?
Not always. I wouldn't say exclusively, but I do read a lot of series, yeah.
Do you also like the Percy Jackson series?
Absolutely. And all other Rick Riordan series, all of the sequel series that came after that. Well, I have very mixed feelings about the Trials of Apollo series, but for the most part, I love all of his books.
If you have a friend who says they don't like books or they don't like reading anything, a friend your age, what book would you say, this is the book you should try?
I mean, I've recommended Scythe to like everybody I know, and also the Generations trilogy is very good, but that's pretty mature so like I'd recommend that to most of my friends. I think most of my friends would be mature enough for that, but like if they're not, for sure Percy Jackson and like Harry Potter, if anybody hasn't read Harry Potter at this point. And, the Story Thief series, I love that one. 5-part series by James Riley. There's so much I would love to talk about that series, but like I can't spoil anything.
But just to clarify, for Scythe, that sounds like maybe a book that a kid should check with a parent before they read. Like it really does sound like an older teen book. I
mean, yeah, I guess you should check with your parent. Like, it's for sure dark, and it has graphic parts with, murdering people or gleaning people, but it's not like overly graphic. It for sure can be directed at younger audiences. And like, I think I was 11 when I first read it, like 11 and a half, and I was fine. I can't speak for everybody, but I was not emotionally scarred from reading it.
Sounds like your mom needs to pay a little closer attention.
Hey, you approved this for me. I vividly remember you read the description of this book and you told me, like, this is about mass murder, and if you think you can handle that, you can read it. That is what you said.
Okay, well, I don't know. Sometimes I'm an awesome parent, sometimes I'm a terrible parent.
I mean, you let me read, like, my favorite books ever, so, like, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, we'll go with awesome parent then.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for talking to me, Joey.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Jayla. I'm 15. And the book that I would recommend is the First Law trilogy, specifically The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie.
I have never heard of this book. Tell me about it.
Well, I am into like more like high fantasy books, so it's it's a trilogy that's set in a world where like there are magi, there are wizards, but they like no one thinks magic exists anymore. You know, it's one of those fantasy books where magic is seen as like an old tale. And so it follows, I think, 5 people just all over in one city, but their paths, like, I think every single character, they all meet each other at some point in the trilogy, which I thought was a pretty cool kind of Easter egg. And they go all over the world basically, and it's just really good. It's a very realistic book, which I like a lot. I feel like a lot of books that I read when I was younger were a lot of like, oh, you're the chosen one. Oh, you can, succeed with the power of friendship and all that kind of thing. But that's not at all what this book is like. If a characters get hurt all the time, it's like Game of Thrones. Well, it's what my mom tells me Game of Thrones is like. I'm not allowed to read Game of Thrones.
Okay.
But, yeah, so like if a character isn't a good fighter, they'll get hurt in battle, or like if the character is really awkward, they like no one will like them, like that kind of thing. So I really like how like true to life it is, I guess. It's a very good series. It's a really good book.
So even though it's magical and fantasy, it's true to life in that there are actual consequences to things. They can't just magic everything away.
It's a little like playing Dungeons and Dragons, I guess.
Okay.
But, like I don't know. That's probably it's like a weird pull. But yeah, but like there's magic, but like you can't use magic for anything. Like only specific people can use magic. It's really just real, and it's really fun. It's a really fun book, especially if you're tired of the kind of like The Wheel of Time is a really good series. If you're tired of books like The Wheel of Time, you should read the First Law trilogy.
So you'd recommend this for readers who have outgrown the Wheel of Time series, and sounds like it's far beyond Harry Potter as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's got more mature content than something like that?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Sorry, I should have like mentioned that, but yeah, there's nothing like sex or anything, at least in the first book, but like there is violence. Like the characters do like fight a lot. They like kill people. Your standard medieval fantasy kind of book. So yeah, if you don't want your kids reading that kind of thing, then maybe pick something different. But it's worth it. It's really nice.
Jayla, how'd you find this book?
My dad. A lot of the books I find are because my parents were like listening to them or reading them, and I was like, oh, I should read this book too. I discovered a lot of books that way, like The Lies of Locke Lamora and The Wind-Up Girl, and The Wheel of Time too. Actually, is because my parents would listen to it, and I would, I'm like around my parents a lot, so I would end up listening to it too, and then I would want to listen to it on my own time.
Were you always a big reader?
Yes, like I just really like reading. Like I taught myself how to read when I was like really young, and just like I really just like books. I think my mom had a lot to do with that.
My name's Erin, and I'm 17.
Erin, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book is Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane.
Tell me what it's about.
Shutter Island is about a U.S. Marshal who travels to an island, which on the island there is a hospital for the criminally insane. And he is investigating a case of a missing patient. So he's searching all over the island, and it's very twist and turny and very mysterious and scary, and it's very good.
How did you discover this book?
My older brother recommended it to me, and then I read it while he was here visiting, and then we watched the movie together, and yeah.
Isn't this a book that has this is a big giant twist at the end, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But I will be revealing zero information on that twist.
Oh.
I did not see it coming. This is really what made the entire book for me, was the twist ending, because I literally had zero idea it was coming. So
it's not a kid's book.
No, I wouldn't call it a kid's book. It's definitely scary. There's not a lot of gore, but it's definitely a thriller.
So what age group would you recommend this book for?
I mean, I'm not everyone's parents. Like, I can't decide what people are like equipped to handle, but basically if you like horror, if you like mystery and thriller, this is a good one.
So like older teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, I was 16 when I read it. So, I mean, basically if you think you can handle it, if you like horror, then you're probably fine.
It sounds too scary for you. I don't think you should be reading books like this.
All right, Mom, that's okay.
When you were a little girl, you read such sweet books. Tell me about your favorite book from when you were a little girl.
Okay, my favorite book from when I was a kid was The Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Frederick. It's about 5 little girls whose mothers force them into a book club and expose them to literature such as Jane Eyre, Pride and Prejudice, stuff like that. And I kind of thought it was really lame the first time I got it, because you actually gave it to me, Mom. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to read it to please my mom. And then I read it, and it's a 7-series book. And I just this kind of sounds dumb and cheesy, but I just related so much to the girls, because they were just going into middle school, and I was just going into middle school, and it was I don't know. I just thought it was the most amazing book. So I would read the series, and then the second I was done, I would just read it again, because I just loved it so much. So, and
they all have clever puns on the titles, right?
Yes. My favorite of all 7, which is the one I've read probably 10 times, is called Pies and Prejudice. And in the book club, they read Pride and Prejudice, and then in their story, they start a pie business, which you would understand if you read the book. But yeah.
Well, I know what pies are.
I mean, you would understand why they started a pie business.
Okay, I thought you were implying that I didn't know what pie was.
No, I should hope you know what pie is.
Erin, are there any other books that you would recommend for a 17-year-old that you think is a good direction to go? What about for someone who is a reluctant reader, someone your age who maybe never picked up the reading habit? What would be a good start for them?
There is a book called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And it was one of the first mysteries I read, and it's very short, and it's very, it's a pretty easy read, and it's about teenagers who were about my age, and it's just a really good, captivating story. So I think We Were Liars I would recommend to everyone.
Another one with a giant twist at the end.
Yes.
That is I believe that is the first book that you read that I had never read, where you came tearing into my room and almost threw it at me and said, I had to read it right that second.
Yes, probably. That makes sense.
And I'm so glad you did that, because I love that book too.
Yeah.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for being on the Best Book Ever podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is such an honor.
My name is Ella, and I'm 19. My favorite book is Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson.
That sounds like a boring nonfiction book, is it?
No, it's very good. and it is not nonfiction. I don't hate myself.
Okay, so tell me what this book is about.
Wow. What isn't this book about? So it's about this girl named Ruby, and it's just about her journey through life. And mostly it's about her relationship with her mom and her sisters and how she copes with love and loss. And there's a lot of tragedy, and it's how she deals with that. But it's interesting because it starts off with her being conceived. It's in first person from her point of view, and it starts off with her as an embryo and like her conscious thought as an embryo, and how her thoughts change from when she's in the womb to literally being born all the way through her life. It switches off, every chapter switches off between her life and the life of her family, her ancestors, and there's like parallels between all the chapters about how their lives are sort of connected, and it could either be through the events or it's through like an object that is introduced with her ancestors and then brought into her life.
How did you find this book?
It was assigned to me in a novel class at my college, in my first year of college. And usually I'm not thrilled by school books, but I read them because I have to. But this one was like stunning.
Tell me what's stunning about it.
Oh man, I don't know. Just the writing is just like, it's stunning because it's just so well written. And there is a twist. It's not like a crazy, shocking, like, oh my gosh, Ruby's a killer. It's not something like that. It's just like something that you see patterns about throughout the whole story. And then it's finally revealed. And it's really, really subtle. And my teacher had to tell me, like, this is what happened, because I didn't even catch it because it's so subtle. And then going back and looking through the whole thing, you see the little, like, nuggets that she gave you, the author. And it's just, like, mind-blowing. And it changes the whole story. It changes everything.
Do you have a quote you want to share with me?
Then the birds described great descending circles in the air as they came down towards her, and the next moment, without her knowing how it happened, she was flying with them towards a bright Arctic sun, and there at the heart of it was her mother, her arms outstretched to welcome her.
Why do you like that so much?
I just think it's so pretty, and it's so, I don't know, it's so encompassing of the whole book, and how generations of women change and how you interact with your mom and stuff like that.
This book that you are holding in your hands is super marked up and highlighter and underlining, and that makes me so incredibly happy.
Thank you. At first it was just because I was reading it for school, and so we had to take notes. But then it turned into me just wanting to document my thoughts as they were happening as a first-time reader so I can compare to what it's like reading it a second time.
What do you normally read in your free time when you're not being assigned books from school?
It can be anything. Like, I just finished, in the past few months, I finished rereading the Harry Potter series for the 8th time in my life. And I read a nonfiction about Victorian medicine. And it can be any random fiction. I'm also a sucker for, you know, bad teen fiction that's really famous and popular, but not necessarily good writing. So it can be pretty much a wide range of things.
Ella, this has been a delight speaking with you. Thank you for joining me on the Best Book Ever podcast.
It's been an absolute delight to be here. The highlight of my life, the joy of my days, the salt of the earth, the fruit of the loom.
My name's Aiden, and I'm 23 years old.
Tell me about your favorite book.
My favorite book is a book called Mortal Lessons by Richard Selzer.
What is this book about?
So, Richard Selzer was a surgeon, and throughout his time as a surgeon, he was very much into philosophy and Baroque-type literature. And post his time as a surgeon, he decided to write about what he did, how he lived his life as a surgeon, some of his craziest stories. And this is the first collection. It's a collection of, I want to say 15 essays, all describing different, crazy situations that he got into and how he dealt with them and things like that.
Is it a medical book or a philosophy book?
It's a medical book, but he's so literarily smart that it reads almost like philosophy. It's so metaphorically dense, and it examines principles that you could see as higher than the medical field, like struggle between life and death, and like what it means to believe in God in the practice of surgery. So getting down to the meat and potatoes of it, it's a book by a surgeon about surgery, but it's about so much more, and there's so much more meaning to it.
Is this a book that's interesting to people who are not interested in the medical profession?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Because it was the first book in even sort of medically related that I read. It was brought to me in high school. I had a friend that said, hey, check out this passage. That friend, she analyzed it in some lit class. She's like, check this out. This is crazy. And I read this passage. I was like, holy crap. And I picked up the book from there. And after reading that book, I went deeper into medical literature. But that the beauty and like at the same time the profound disturbing nature of that book roped me in so well that it fueled me to get so much deeper into it.
What do you mean by disturbing?
I mean, the situations that he chooses to write his essays about are real. They're terrifying. If we're being completely honest, every single procedure that he chooses an essay for is so scary. Like there's some that revolve around super malignant tumors, and one that is probably the most poignant in the book that revolves around the removal of a botfly from a person's mandible. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Are you kidding me? Like a bug?
Like a bug. Like a bug. And the essay is probably 15 pages long, going over the entire procedure. And it's, terrifying. It's a very, very scary procedure. There's so
Oh my God.
For me, it's important to mention that because that's one of the first essays, and that's one of the ones that will stick out, that will be in my mind for, the rest of my life potentially, because it's so scary. But at the same time, the grasp he has of the English language makes it poetic. It's beautiful. There are points where he will lace in these metaphors of like this bug that has the potential to end this human's life as some sort of Satan-esque being. And like, what does that make everyone else in that situation? What does that make the person? Is the person just a representation of the human, and then he is God? It's fascinating. He goes so deep with every procedure. Every procedure, he examines it as so much more than just, knife to skin or tweezer to bug, if you will.
Are you reading these stories for medical knowledge, or are you reading them to learn about the meaning of life?
No, I would say no essay contains more in-depth medical knowledge than like an episode of House. Like you could go into the book with a very base level knowledge of what happens in an operating room, what the role of a surgeon is, and you can still read the book and you can still understand what's happening in the book. What makes the book is not like the fact that he's performing this surgery. It's like, oh man, I always wondered how you could remove a tumor from a bone that small. That's not why I went into the book. I went into the book because it's just so beautiful. The language is just so beautiful, and it makes you think in a way that, going back to an episode of House, would not. You finish this procedure and then you see how the patient talks to the doctor following the procedure, and you think like, man, am I strong enough to react like that? If I will never be able to use, my hand again. would I be the same in that situation, or would I, be tearing up at this part? It makes you think about how you would be in both doctor and patient shoes.
So after you read this book, it sort of set you on a journey of reading a lot of medical literature?
Absolutely.
Like what else?
And I tried to find these books that either examine something super outlandish and bizarre, or just like grab your attention and kind of suck you in, or these books that are a little bit more than just medical books, like some books that are really examining the story of a person going through things. Like Richard Selzer or Henry Marsh, the author of Do No Harm, who really examines medicine for more than just what it is and more than just the people involved, looking at like telling a full developing story. It ties into my work as a personal trainer, partially, understanding the mind is understanding the body. You can't have one without the other. Understanding motivation is understanding every single movement that the body carries out. But outside of that, I think there's a little bit of a childish quality about me enjoying this literature, where I enjoy literature that shocks me. I enjoy reading something that like I get through and I get through a procedure and I go, oh goodness, what the heck? And I think part of that, like, when I was younger, I would love horror books. And as I got older, things were less scary and more shocking. And I think I'm able to get that shock value at the same time that I'm furthering my knowledge in the field that I'm so passionate about, which is just understanding head to toe people.
You know what it's making me think of? There's an author I really love named Thomas Lynch, and he is a funeral home owner, and he writes poetry. And have you read his books?
We were discussing Thomas Lynch when I read Smoke Gets in Your Eye.
Yes. Yeah. So he has the same sort of approach where he's talks a lot about philosophy and religion and just what it means to be the funeral director in a small town and prepare the bodies of people. And it's so sad and sometimes a little too much for me when he describes the physical stuff, but also very tender and beautiful and really makes you think about what's important in life when, these bodies can really hurt us.
Sure. I mean, I think that ties into what I would consider the overarching theme of Mortal Lessons, which, if I were to boil it, the entire thing down to 3 words, I think it's be here now. I think what he's saying is shit's terrifying, shit's messy. It's gooey, it seeps out, it gets in your face. But all we can do is be 100% present in the situation that we were given. And that's the best we could do with it.
Excellent. Thank you for joining me on The Best Book Ever, Aiden.
Appreciate you having me.
I want to take just a second to thank all of the kiddos who joined me today. Colby, Henry, Charley, Kate, Jaden, Jack, Miles, Joey, Jayla, Erin, Ella, and Aiden. Like all of us, these kids are in various stages of online school and daycare, and I know they are sick to death of talking to people on Zoom calls. So I'm really grateful they talked to me. Also, an extra special thanks to all of the parents who helped organize these meetings and wrangle the kiddos into place. I know that parents are also sick to death of sitting their kids in front of computers, and I'm so grateful they agreed to help me out. All of you parents are doing a fantastic job during a really, really tough year. I love you, and I love your smart and funny and weird and wonderful kids. Thank you for sharing them with me, and thank you for giving them the gift of books. And thank you for listening, Bookworms. Links to all the books we discussed can be found in the show notes. Follow us on Instagram at Best Book Ever Podcast. I'm your host, Julie Strauss, and you can find my website and Instagram at Julie Wrote a Book. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you at the library.
Okay, see you in like 5 minutes.